Welcome everyone to Storytime with Reds. We have a very special guest this time, Michael Macdonald. He is an artist and a tea aficionado. He specializes in aged and pu'er teas. So I'll let him talk a little bit more about himself and tell us a little bit more about how he got started.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure being here. My name's Mike Macdonald. I work in the tea business here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I've studied tea here for, I guess, 6 or 7 years with a tea master, a guy from Hong Kong. And specifically, my interest has been aged tea, old stuff, the old tea that you might find in the back of someone's cupboard is kind of what interests me. I've had the chance to have teas from almost every decade back to around 1920.
Wow.
So, and doing that, it kind of, you make kind of like a catalog, a library to understand how tea ages over time. So I've even been able to taste tea and tell what age it is. So it's a kind of a specific practice that not too many people are into. And pu'er is my kind of major focus and why I'm on the show tonight.
Awesome. And so how did you, what all of a sudden piqued your interest into this? Was it something you were experienced at childhood, or was there a pivotal moment in your life where you were like, oh my gosh, tea is what I'm into?
Oh, well, I've had tea my whole life. My family's from Glasgow, Scotland, so we are big tea drinkers anyway, but builder's tea, milk and sugar and that sort of thing. But in my teenage years, I started to study Buddhism. And other kind of things like that, spiritual stuff. But I would read scriptures and drink green tea and feel like a cool guy. And that kind of got me stuck on drinking a lot of green tea, mostly Japanese at that time. And when I moved here to Vancouver, my wife and I were down in Chinatown, and I went into a tea shop to buy some more green tea. And when I asked the guy if he had any, he said, I have one. But the place was packed with tea in shapes I'd never seen, discs of tea and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I said, well, what's all this other stuff in here? And he said, sit down. And he became my teacher. I would go back a couple times a week. And in fact, he was at my house till 4 a.m, 2 days ago. So we still get together and talk. And he's very supportive in my tea journey as well. Because it's through him that I've had access to such rare and kind of special teas that I may not be able to find or afford to try.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you work at his tea shop, is that correct?
No, I actually work at another tea shop in town. It's run by these women from mainland China, and it's like a big tea house with a kitchen that does food and that sort of thing. And we do different kinds of tea service for people, and there's classes and all kinds of things going on. It's called Matcha, like Vancouver tea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like
and
it.
They have 2 locations, a location in downtown, and also there's an area of Vancouver called West Vancouver, and they have a big tea house, which we call our flagship, because it's crazy gorgeous, really beautiful, filled with antique furniture and gorgeous teapots. So it's a really nice place to sit and have tea and feel like a classical scholar. It's really nice. They have quite a love for tea culture. So, and I'm lucky to work there. I'm actually the only Westerner working there, but they hired me because of my skill serving and my knowledge of pu'er tea and aged tea specifically.
Awesome. And so you are also an artist, correct?
Correct. I've even designed wrappers for Bing Cha for the cake of pressed pu'er. Yeah, I've been doing that for, since I was a little kid, but professionally since my 20s, and I'm in my mid-40s now, so a little while I've been doing that, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So we do have a couple questions for you. What are your thoughts on the differences, I guess, overall differences on compressed tea, like if compressed into tea cakes versus loosely pu'er?
Well, that question would specifically be about storage and how you would want to store and age your tea. Compressed tea will age a bit slower. The outer area will So when pu'er ages, it oxidizes, and it's also cultures are growing in it. So it's fermenting and oxidizing. So you get these two actions happening. And if it's pressed into a cake and if it's extremely hard pressed, the outer area will age faster than the inner center. The center will actually stay very green and astringent, because traditionally a pu'er is very strong tea when it's first made. It's like a green tea, but processed a little different to keep the microorganisms alive inside it, so that you'll get that enzymatic oxidation from those organisms and from the enzymes in the plant. And as it ages, that mellows and changes these strong flavors. So if you have a loose leaf tea, oxygen gets all around those leaves, so it'll actually age faster, which is good, but the flavor might dilute a little more. So it depends on and where you store it and how you store it. If you store it in a very dry climate compared to a humid climate, so if it's very dry, it's going to age very slowly. Like in Vancouver, we have it's very dry here for even being by the ocean. So, and the humidity is okay, but the temperature is low. So tea ends up aging very slowly. We kind of call it here super dry storage, because your tea will almost not age. Whereas if you store in Hong Kong or Taiwan or something, it's so humid your tea ages quickly. Like when you hear someone say traditionally stored or wet stored pu'er, they mean stored in Hong Kong, and that you get like the dankness from the humidity helps age that tea. You know, it gets much darker. If you know Sheng and Shou pu'er, when you age Sheng pu'er in a very humid environment, it quickly becomes something like that Shou pu'er, which the Shou pu'er is trying to be that well-aged Sheng pu'er.
Yeah. So do you find, typically, does it make more sense for Sheng pu'er to be loose leaf, or vice versa? And how does that work? How does it work in terms of flavor, mouthfeel, and stuff like that? Do you feel like that it really affects it, whether it's loose leaf or cake?
Oh, absolutely. Because even if I get a cake and I want to store it, though, I'll leave it in the Bing chop so that it remains in a stack with other tea, so that they all can kind of work together. Tea likes to be with other tea when it ages. But if I'm going to drink it, I'll actually break that cake up and store it in different containers, because each container will affect how that tea ages. So if you put it in ceramic, you have less oxygen getting to the tea, so therefore the tea won't age as quickly. Or if you can store it in something like this container is made of pewter, and so it's an airtight container. Inside this, I have a pu'er tea from 1945. So I don't want that tea to age, because it'll actually lose its flavor and aromatic if I leave it in something that was more porous. So inside this pewter, it remains almost as it was when I was given it 4 years ago. To smell it, it's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision, because that smells... It's such a strong smell. It's like a vinegary kind of smell.
Wow.
It's been fermenting really crazy. And the taste of this stuff is like the finest scotch or something. It's really incredible. I drink it usually around Christmas.
Oh,
nice. So I store a few different types of tea in this. Like this one has 1983 Taiwan oolong in it, which again, I don't want it to get too much air, because that'll take away its aromatics and its flavor. So, but if you're storing, and the other things, it gets kind of difficult with pressed and loose leaf cake, because a pressed cake, you know that someone kind of hasn't added anything to it over the decades, where a loose leaf tea, people can add whatever they want over time. And even I blend my own loose leaf teas on occasion. Like I have a late 60s Sheng pu'er, but it has such a light flavor. It's not very pronounced. It has some really nice age flavor underneath, though. So I mix that with an early 90s Sheng pu'er, so that it gets some of the lively kick of the young, but still has the age flavor that I enjoy of that old tea. Plus it extends that old tea, so I don't drink it.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, I'm all about blending, so I totally get it.
Well, that's even pu'er. You'll often hear pu'er called a number like 7542, and that's actually the recipe of that pu'er, and that's talking about the year that recipe was made, the size of the leaves, and the factory where the tea was made, so you can get an idea. But even a lot of the teas that are from the 90s, pre-2000, pre-2008, before kind of boutique teas, they're all blended. They're mixed from different villages and mountains, so you get quite a variety of tea, and gives really nice character to the old teas.
Yeah.
Like I like the no-name, what's called gongcha, the no-name kind of pu'er. I really dig it. It's because it's usually mixed of some old trees and some young trees and big leaves and little leaves, buds, and everything mixed up, so you get some good flavor. Because if it's just buds, it's sweet but lacks some of the character, just like a person. You like some character in a friend, and it's very much the same thing.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Another question that we had for you was, what are some of the specific health benefits that you wanted to highlight about pu'er? Because I feel like it gets lost in the shuffle, and I feel like not enough people talk about it and are aware of some of the really awesome health benefits that it has.
Well, like right off the bat, it's probiotic, right? Like it's got a lot of microorganisms in it, and that are said to be very helpful to you. And in Western medicine and Chinese medicine, it even has kind of different ways of expressing its health benefits. But for me personally, either there's weight loss is what people bring up, and cholesterol. It's also said to clean cholesterol, and that's what the Chinese use it for digestion often. After dim sum or a greasy meal, you have some pu'er to help wash it down, and they would say it affects the bloodstream as well as just your digestive system. But for me, really, even just the action of making tea like this, gong fu cha style, this is probably the most important health benefit, because you slow down and you take time and you relax. So that, above anything else, unless you're drinking pu'er or green tea or something every day, you're not really going to get all the benefits. But if you're doing this kind of sitting even 1 or 2 times a week, you're going to get some benefits from it, at least from that. So it's wide ranging. Pu'er would be similar to green tea plus fermentation. Some scholars in China will argue that Sheng pu'er is green tea, and I would agree until age. Time is the thing that makes it pu'er, because that's the kick. Like I talk to some people and they say, I have an aged pu'er, 10 years, and I'm like, that's not even age. To me, that's very young. It's it's very sharp in flavor to me. Yeah. Whereas I want my tea to be like me, an old man. I like a darker flavor, a richer kind of experience. But not to say that drinking a young flowery pu'er is wrong. I do in the summer. I drink some young Sheng pu'er because it helps cool me down really quickly. But my flavor preference is lao cha. These old teas, these what I would call dank or funky flavors when I first had them, there was no association in kind of Western taste that I could think of but mushrooms and dirt, and that doesn't sound very appetizing when I explain it to anyone. So now I say it's fertile because it sounds nice.
I do love the earthiness of the pu'er, and I also love the fact the mouthfeel is so thick and it's non-astringent. That's probably what I love about it most. I did have a fun story about the health benefits. We were in Nepal, me and another lady from another tea company, and she had horrible digestion problems going on. And she had went to the pharmacy, she went everywhere to get medicine, everything, nothing was working. And I remembered, I'm like, oh my gosh, I always take the little, the small little pu'ers with me, my cha. And I said, oh my gosh, try this. I gave her one. Within 3 hours, she was back to normal. Like literally that fast. It was absolutely amazing. So now I make sure to never travel or go anywhere without it, because they're just I feel like it's so amazing. It's just so good for digestion.
If I'm not feeling well myself, I slice ginger and mix it with chaud pu'er and boil it like in a pot. I'll boil it for a while until it's rich and dark and like really like Coca-Cola dark.
Yeah.
And that always makes me feel good. Makes me feel better quite quickly.
Yeah.
But even ginger on its own is pretty darn good. So.
Oh yeah. So I think that was all the questions. Was there anything that you would like to add about art or pu'er in general that you would like people to know? Something that people maybe don't always talk about or notice about pu'er?
Oh, I did so much. I wouldn't even know where to start. But what I would say is that if you're going to get into pu'er, you don't have to worry about aged pu'er or that sort of thing, because some people might not even like it. If you like the flowery sorts and greener flavors, you're very lucky because you can drink younger tea that you can get at a more reasonable price and that sort of thing. But aged tea is like a luxury I would recommend, because I like it like one would like fine cigars or scotch and that sort of thing. It's a wonderful experience. I think everyone should have a chance to try it. Even in fact, my teacher, Daniel, who has a shop here called the Chinese Tea Shop, he has a great selection of aged teas that are at a really reasonable price, like extremely reasonable. I recommend picking up some if you can. And another thing I was going to say is like aged white tea is also something that for health benefits is quite good, and something that I age just like I would pu'er in jars or just wrapped in a paper bag in the back of my bookshelf. Because you can see behind me the bookshelf, that's all tea and stuff. So it's all jars. I'll move for a second. Maybe you can get a see. There's teapots and jars of tea and gaiwans and that sort of thing. And I got over 40 teapots, but I repair them too, so I end up having a lot of stuff. Yeah, because these Ying teapots are also a crazy rabbit hole that I've gone down and enjoy.
I know how you feel. I collect teacups, so teacups and antique teaspoons. So. Oh,
nice, yeah. So teacups for me too. Like this is one I repaired. That's there's silver staples in it. Yeah. So I repaired it, and you drill in but not right through to try and stop it from cracking. I think this is from like the 70s or something, but a Japanese cup. But I have a collection like here, like this. This cup is from the Ming Dynasty.
Wow.
So before Columbus sailed the ocean blue, someone was drinking from this cup.
Is that metal on the top? Is that like a metal rim?
Yeah, that's silver, because this thing, let me see if you can see that, it's been shattered. Somehow this was broken in the past, I don't know, probably decade or a couple hundred years, or I don't know. And they put a silver band on it to hold it together. And that's one of the traditional ways of repairing cups and even teapots. Because I do staple repair, like I showed you. Like you can do it even on teapots to make them function again.
That is so cool.
And I use this all the time. No problem. It doesn't leak or anything. Wow. But it takes a while to learn how to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But I'm learning kintsugi as well, which is the Japanese gold joinery, the gold repair, which is, I didn't do this repair, but this teapot.
Wow.
So this teapot is from like Middle Qing dynasty. So this is like a more than 200-year-old teapot. Wow. Pretty cool. And again, I use it all the time. It's not, I don't store it away at like a jewel. I think it's to be used. And it was a gift from my teacher. So you can see it's got a lot of gold repair on it right around the other side. And then inside the lid even, you can see it's been repaired. So pretty cool. That's why he gave it to me to help me learn, but it's a really cool gift.
I love it. That's so amazing. And so many different ways of artistry too. It's just absolutely wow.
Well, like even the teapots themselves, they're made by...
That one's beautiful too.
This little guy?
No, the one you were pouring, the kettle.
That's my kettle, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's an iron kettle.
Beautiful. It's big.
Yeah, it's pretty big, but it's a great size because I can fill it with just enough water, or I can fill it right up, and it doesn't, some spurt out when you go to pour. Yeah. I never have that problem. So when I'm serving in public, often I'll bring it with me so that I know it really well, so I'm not spraying water on people and that sort of thing. Because went to places where they supply a kettle and it's like a camping kettle. It's not very good. If you lack control, you're losing the gong fu of the gong fu cha. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much. It's been amazing having you on, and we've all learned so much. I can't wait to edit this and get this out because this is going to be so awesome. If you would like to contact him, you can find him on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's puerh to the people. So kind of, I like puns. So it's been a pleasure, Melissa. Very cool. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much.